Hello, everyone. This is Pastor Alan Hathaway. I want to take a few moments to share with you my themes for the Advent season, those 4 Sundays just before Christmas. I'm going to be talking about the power of the incarnation. We'll be looking at John chapter 1, verses 1 through 18 for this particular series. Advent is a wonderful time of year. The word Advent comes from a Latin word meaning coming. In the early centuries of Christianity, Advent was celebrated as a time to prepare our hearts for the coming of Jesus Christ. Naturally, the birth of Jesus Christ became a focus of this, and particularly because it's centered on the incarnation. The incarnation of Jesus is central to the Christian faith. The incarnation is the belief that in Jesus God became flesh and dwelt among us as humans. The implications of that are hard to work out. In fact, it has taken Christians centuries to work out some of the concepts of the incarnation, and we are still working out some of the implications of the incarnation in our humanity and in our understanding of what it meant for God to become flesh. In Jesus Christ, God suffered on the cross for our sins. And through Jesus Christ's resurrection, we as humans receive salvation and the promise of the resurrection in our own lives. And so that is the wonder and the glory of the incarnation. Jesus' resurrection is the proof of the incarnation. Because of this, by the 4th century, Christians would spend up to 6 weeks before Christmas or Epiphany, which was actually originally a celebration of Jesus' baptism, but later came to be celebrated as the coming of the wise men. But it was a time to prepare for baptism. And very often on Christmas and Epiphany, Christians would be baptized into the faith. The other time for baptism came at the end of Lent during the Palm Sunday and Easter celebrations. That would be a time for baptizing new converts as well. So it was a time for preparing for that. Christians still, in our day and age, struggle with the meaning of the incarnation. The incarnation becomes central in Western Christian thought. It would become the basis that we have of individual liberties and the concept that the individual is important. Up to that concept, it was the society and the culture that is important. But in Western thought, the individual became important, and that individual conscience became central to thinking, because if God became human, then humans are important to God. And what we think, what we act, how we think about things, the decisions we make, all of those are important. And that's why the incarnation is central to Western thinking. It became the foundation of Western thinking. The accounts of Jesus's ministry differ in the Gospels, primarily because John is aiming at proving or giving us an understanding of the implications of the incarnation. In fact, the first chapter of John lays down this concept of the incarnation and how important it is for us as Christians. He selects incidents from Jesus's early ministry, and primarily incidents from his private conversations and small group interactions. He also focuses a lot of his gospel at the very end of Jesus's ministry prior to the crucifixion, because For John, those times in Jesus' ministry are central to understanding who Jesus is and what the incarnation means. This was so noticeable between the difference between John's gospel and the other gospels that by the 1700s, skeptical scholars postulated that the Gospel of John had been written in the 3rd and 4th centuries because they did not believe that the doctrine of the incarnation was that early in Christian thought. But the discovery of early manuscripts has indicated that John's Gospel was likely written at the end of the 1st century, as Christians had for centuries claimed. And as a result of that, we understand that the incarnation was central to Christianity from the very beginning of our Christian faith. And so I want to talk to you about some thoughts that come out of John chapter 1. First, John talks to us about Jesus being the light of the world. And so I want to talk to you about this concept of Jesus, the light of the world. And we're going to be looking at the character of John the Baptist in relationship to this, because in Luke's gospel, he is called the harbinger of the day spring, and Jesus being the day spring of God's glory coming into the world. The second Sunday, December the 5th, we'll be talking about children of God. And the character that Sunday will be Joseph, who was a descendant of David and the earthly father of Jesus. And it also tells us about the importance of being adopted into God's family. We are God's children, adopted through Jesus Christ into God's family. On the third Sunday of Advent, our theme will be the Word. And we'll be looking at Mary as the mother of Christ and as the one who brought the Word into the world, the Word that God had promised from the Old Testament to come into the world, what God wanted to say to us from the very beginning of creation. And so the Word was made flesh, and we're going to talk about that on that Sunday. The last Sunday of Advent, the fourth Sunday, we're going to be talking about the concept of grace and truth. The character we're going to be looking at is the prophet Isaiah, and we're going to be talking about the concept of grace in our lives, that Jesus Christ is the source of grace and truth. In Garrison, we're going to be having our Christmas program, and we're going to be talking about heroes and zeros in our Christmas program. But at Riverdale, I'll be sharing the message Grace and Truth in Jesus. And I'm excited about these messages. I'm excited about this whole incarnation and what the importance of that in our lives. The final Sunday of December is not part of Advent, but I normally do a special presentation on the last Sunday. And my special presentation on the last Sunday, December the 26th, in both churches will be The View Beyond. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. I hope you join me for these messages. I hope that you will celebrate the coming of Jesus Christ during this Advent season. God bless you. You have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas season.